coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name's Robert Whitelaw, and I am the Rebel Broker, licensed real estate broker in the state of California, member of the National Association of Realtors. But please, don't hold that against me. Interesting show this week. We're going to do something new. First of all, apologies for the quality of the camera. For those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you on the podcast, you don't care. The camera is busy doing real work out there in the world right now, so unfortunately, I had to go with the backup camera. But hey, we're not here to look at me anyway, right? We're here to look at the data. So I'll spare you a long, drawn-out, up-close view of me. What we're shooting for here in this week's show is a hot take on last month's data. Now, for those of you who have been around for a while, you know that I do a coffee and real estate live chat on the third Saturday of each month, where we cover all of the data for the previous month. The reason we do it on the third Saturday is the MLS takes 3 weeks to square away all of the data from the previous month. And for those of you who missed it, let me suggest you go back to the San Jose market analysis for August, the Santa Clara County analysis, which doesn't have its own. It's done in the Coffee and Real Estate live chat. So check out the September Coffee and Real Estate live chat from last month, which covers all of the Santa Clara County stuff. Big numbers there. And what's interesting is the numbers I pulled up on, the numbers I pulled up on September 1st and 2nd changed dramatically by the time we got to that third week, like by a full percentage point in terms of drop in sales prices. So it can be a substantial change. So that's why I wait 3 weeks. I've had some people ask why I don't do them immediately. So what I'm going to start doing is this, a hot take, where we look at what the numbers say they are and try to get a feel on where things have moved to, where things are in the market, so that we can make better decisions based on the best information that's available. So as of today, October 3rd, these numbers were run October 2nd. So these are the best numbers that we can get, but they will likely change before we do the Coffee and Real Estate. So make sure to join me for Coffee and Real Estate, where we'll do the real numbers. And to check that out, head on over to soldbyrobert.com. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see a great little graphic indicating Coffee and Real Estate. There's even a countdown to when it's going to start. You can click the link there and get taken directly to the live page where that show will be shown. And of course, it's a live chat, so feel free to bring your questions or anything else relating to real estate with you, and we can chat about it during the live chat. So I look forward to jumping into that with all of you when the time comes. All right, but for now, let's go ahead and jump in and give a look at what we are seeing in this hot take. I'm sorry, I had to do that graphic. So this is the hot and fresh hot take for September of 2022, and I'm glad you've joined me for this. I think this is going to be valuable. Now, for my folks on video, obviously you're going to be able to see the data I'm presenting. I apologize to the video viewers because this is a podcast, so I want to make sure that I'm describing accurately for my listeners on the podcast what we're seeing. So if some of you video folks feel like, well, hey, Robert, it's right there on the screen, I'm looking at it, and why do you keep reading it? It's for that reason. I want to make sure everyone gets the most that they can out of the data that we're presenting. Okay, now as we always do, we're going to start with total homes on the market. And we see that in Santa Clara County, we've got a 12.2% increase from the same time last year. And just to calibrate you with what numbers we're looking at, we're comparing September of 2021 to September of 2022. So that way we're eliminating any weird seasonal influences. Obviously real estate is seasonal, so we want to eliminate that and compare apples to apples, which is why we do September of last year to September of this year, which gave us in Santa Clara County a grand total of 1,692 homes on the market in the month of September. For San Jose, that number was 19.7% higher. We had 843 homes available for sale. And think of this as, if you're a seller, this is your competition, right? These are how many homes are out there already that you need to get ahead of in terms of getting more attention and getting more buyers interested in your home. For buyers, This is how competitive is it for you, right? How many homes do you have to choose from? The competitive part will come up in a minute, but for really, it's how much inventory do you have to choose from? So it's a good number for both buyers and sellers to care about. As I said, San Jose topped out at 843 homes on the market in September of 2022 compared to 704 homes last year, and that was a 19.7% increase. In Morgan Hill, we saw a 44.6% increase in the overall number of homes on the market. We stood at 81 homes on the market in September of 2022, and for 2021, that number was at 56. In Gilroy, and Gilroy is still interesting. We're going to see a few more tidbits on Gilroy as we move down these numbers. But Gilroy's numbers continue to be interesting. And the things I talked about last month relating to Gilroy, I think are still true. Gilroy saw 85 homes total on the market in September of 2022. That's a 39.3% increase from September of 21 when that number stood at 61%. All right. Let's now check out total new listings. So these are the total number of homes that went on the market. In other words, someone listed their home in the month of September in the rates related to these numbers. All right, so as we can see in Santa Clara County, a pretty substantial drop, 24.2% drop from the same time last year, 1,346 homes added to the market. We're going to compare this to the next number, which is homes sold, and it'll really give you an insight into what's happening with inventory or why what is happening with inventory is in fact happening. So in any event, last year at the same time, that number was 1,775. And as I said, a 24.2% decrease. For San Jose, we had a 21.9% decrease from the same time last year. This year, 697 homes were listed in the month of September. Last year in the same month, that number stood at 892. In Morgan Hill, a 10.5% drop in the total number of new listings in September. 51 homes were listed in September of 2022, and at the same time last year, that number stood at 57. Interestingly enough, in Gilroy, it's a wash. There is no change. It was 58 homes this year, and it was 58 homes last year. Now, what we can do now is keep in mind these numbers, and I'll remind them of you as we check out these next home sold numbers, because it's important to understand the dynamic of homes listed versus homes sold. All right, so in Santa Clara County, we saw a 29.6% decline in the number of homes sold. Now, last year, it was 1,631. This year, the number is 1,141 homes sold in September. In San Jose, down 28.5%. Last year, it was 852 homes were sold, and 609 homes were sold in September of 2022. Morgan Hill down 10.9%. So Morgan Hill had the least amount of decline, with 41 homes sold in the month of September in 2022 and 46 homes sold in the same month in 2021. For Gilroy, a 26.8% decline, with 41 homes sold in the month of September for 2022 and 56 homes sold at the same time last year. Now, let's go ahead and think about this for a second. Santa Clara County sold 1,149 homes, but they listed 1,346, if you'll remember from the last slide. So that explains why we continue to see this growing inventory. Same is true for all these other locations. San Jose, 609 homes were listed, but 609 homes sold, but 697 homes were listed. For Morgan Hill, we had 41 homes sold, but we had 51 homes listed. In Gilroy, 41 homes sold, but 58 homes listed. So in every case, we are adding more homes to the inventory than we're selling, which is a complete reversal from the way we were seeing things operating before when things were so tight. We were selling more homes each month than we were listing, which was constantly drawing down the carried over inventory, right? So it was constantly depleting it. So now we're not seeing that. That is no longer a dynamic in the market. It has been that way for a couple of months. I believe it was that way in all areas last month. It's only been that way for a couple of months, which I think is just going to feed those inventory numbers more and more, making the market more and more lucrative for buyers and more competitive for sellers, who are the only thing they're going to be able to do is lower their prices to become more competitive, to draw the existing buyers. Because as we've seen, buyers are continuing to step away from the market. There's two effects that are happening. One, buyers are reducing the amount of money they want to spend. So homes at the higher end are going to see bigger drops in asking price, or at least in sales price, or backing out of the market entirely. I had a client who was a buyer who decided they don't want to buy now. So they've decided to back away from the market for the foreseeable future, and don't even want to continue running searches. I've strongly suggested and suggest to you that you do continue to run searches, because you're going to be able to spot when that sweet spot comes in terms of price drops easier than someone who isn't getting that regular weekly or daily reminder of listings and sales in the areas that they're most interested. So I'd strongly suggest buyers embrace the idea of having a running, and you don't even have to talk to me. I'd be happy to have one running for you, but have it running on Realtor.com or Truly or Zillow or wherever you like, just so that you're getting a casual acquaintance with what's happening with prices for homes you like and homes that you potentially would be interested in. Okay, now we move on to average list price. And average list price is one that I do a little bit differently from other real estate folks. This is the original list price, which means the price that the owner wanted to sell their home for when they listed it. So it's not necessarily the price that was on the home when it actually sold. If the price was increased or decreased over its listing, this is not what that number was after that change. This is a real estate agent in your living room got you to sign the document that says this is what we're going to list your home for. And the reason I do this is a great way to calibrate to what are the expectations of sellers when they're listing their home. So in the month of September, this is what folks were calibrated to. And what's interesting is we've seen a adjustment here compared to the last month's numbers that show that expectations now are starting to come down a little bit, with the exception of Gilroy, where expectations were the lowest in Gilroy last year, and in this month, they're the highest. So for Santa Clara County, average original list price is up 13.8%. So on average, in Santa Clara County, folks want $1,900,000, almost $2 million for the average home. Last year, that number is $1,670,000. In San Jose, the number is $1,424,000. That's up from $1,229,000 last year at the same time. That's a 15.9% increase. In Morgan Hill, we have a $1,496,000 average list price or expectation on the part of sellers. That's up 7.5% from last year, which was $1,391,000. In Gilroy, last year at this time, expectations were on average at $979,000. $979,678 since it's on past $500,000. That's almost $980,000. That's a 33% jump this year to $1,306,000. So across the board, expectations are still up, but in many areas compared to last month, they're not up as much as they were. So that may reflect a trend of sellers being better calibrated to the realities of the market. But now let's talk about average sales price. And what's going to be a couple of things interesting about average sales price this month. So for the month of September, is at least with these preliminary hot take numbers, every single home, every single area we check, Santa Clara County, San Jose, Morgan Hill, and Gilroy, every single home sold for less than list price. A future number is going to be interesting to look at in terms of ratio, the sales price to list price ratio. But it was forever at least one city. First, it was only about 4 months ago when we started to see that homes on average were selling for less than their asking price. And it was kind of sticking there in Santa Clara County in general and in San Jose. Then I think Morgan Hill kind of started to see the same trend, and now all four areas are seeing the same trend, where this number, this sales number, is below average price, which is an interesting thing to note since it's kind of a turning point. Now, the average sales price in Santa Clara County is down 2.2%. For those of you who saw last week's show or last month's show on that was presented during the Coffee and Real Estate live chat, that's a huge jump from last month. Last month was what, 1.6? Now we're at 2.2%. So average sales price compared to the same time last year has dropped 2.2%. Last year, 1.697, 1,697,000. This year, 1,660,000. So it's down 2.2% from the same time last year. Now, in terms of spotting trends, right, looking at Santa Clara County data is a good place to start because that has the highest volume, the total number of transactions. And once you get into the thousands of transactions, your data is going to be a lot more reliable. It's when we get into smaller areas. Now, of course, San Jose also has a decent volume, but not thousands. And then when we get to Morgan Hill and Gilroy, we're less than 100 per month, right? So single transactions can have a dramatic effect on averages in those cases. So to see that at the county level is a little bit amazing, because particularly since in Santa Clara County it wasn't 1.6%, it was like 0.6% or almost 1%, and then in San Jose it was 1.6%, and this month it's up. So this month in San Jose, it's up 2.8% from last year. So this year, the average sales price was $1,308,000. Last year is $1,272,000. In Morgan Hill, we've got a 12.4% increase in average sales price, standing at $1,476,000 compared to last year's $1,313,000. For Gilroy, it's a 15.4% increase. Last year, $1,036,000. This year, $1,195,000. So interesting to see the county trend compared to the communities that we tend to track most directly, which obviously are not doing exactly what the county is doing on average. But I think we are still heading in a direction where we're going to start to see all of these numbers go into the negative in the relatively near future. I don't think you can deny some of these market influences, and those will ultimately be reflected, particularly when you're talking about these inventory numbers continuing to grow. Price is going to have to be what breaks. And we're already there in some areas. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about percent over or under asking price. All right, so now looking at percent of asking price. I apologize, some of the numbers are blocked by the percentage changes. In Santa Clara County, we saw 106.3% in September of 2021. We're seeing 100.2% in September of 2022. That's a 5.7% drop. So that basically means people are getting about their asking price and maybe a little more on average. In San Jose, the number was 106.5% last year. So folks on average rating 6.5% over asking price. This year, the number stands at 100.3%. So again, just a little over asking price. That's a 5.8% drop. So San Jose and Santa Clara County in general are very much in line with each other in terms of the overall averages. When we look at Morgan Hill, we can see that there was a 4.8% drop from 2021 to September of 2022. In 2021, that number was 104%. In 2022, it was at 99%. So in general, folks are getting 1% below their asking price in Morgan Hill. In Gilroy, we saw a bigger drop. 104.6% was the number last year in September. This year's September, it was 98.6. So that's a 5.7% drop. And that is a 1.4% drop overall. So you're getting 1.4%, it's 1.4 below asking price. So in Gilroy, again, we are starting to see more indicators that homes are selling for below their asking price. And I think a lot of the dynamics in Gilroy spell a interesting place to potentially look. If Gilroy's ever been on your possible place I'd like to live list, and there's some beautiful areas in Gilroy, I don't think you would be doing yourself any harm by running searches there. I think that that's going to be one of the markets where you're first going to see great opportunities come up in order to acquire property there. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at total days on market. These numbers are all real now. I know that in the past we've talked about how these numbers were kind of artificial because real estate agents were just saying we're not going to look at offers till a certain date, and that was usually 10 to 15 days after the list date. So everything was 10 to 15 days, and as you can see, last year Santa Clara County on average had 17 days on the market. We had a 58.8% increase up to 27 days on the market for Santa Clara County. In San Jose, an 80% increase in the days on market. It was 15 days last year. This year, 27 days. Morgan Hill saw a 106.7% increase in days on market from 15 days last year to 31 days this year. And finally, Gilroy has seen a 57.9% increase, 19 days last year, 30 days this year. And all of these indicators now are real. You're going to have more time. I mean, check out that number in Morgan Hill, 31 days before a home sells. 30 days in Gilroy, creeping up on a month in both Santa Clara County and San Jose. So when we start to see numbers get to this point, the psychological part of a days on market number is very important, because typically it's when you get to these kinds of numbers of a home being on the market that sellers start considering the possibility seriously of reducing their price. Now, some of them may already be calibrated early on, but typically in the ground truth that I tend to see when I'm out there making offers, obviously the longer a home is on the market, each day is going to be something that contributes to a seller's concerns that they aren't going to get their home sold. But once you kind of hit that 3-week, 4-week point, that seems to be the sweet spot where sellers are like, we really need to consider options in terms of making this home go, particularly if they're in a position where they really need to get that home sold as soon as they can. Okay, so in terms of advice for my buyers, sellers, and investors, if you're a seller, I think that there is I really think you probably should have taken action a couple of months ago to really make the tail end of this. Right now, it's going to completely depend on where your home is located if you can still take advantage of a more robust market. Just like every city, there are submarkets where real estate is still very hot. Real estate is still selling at top numbers, and it's selling quickly, and there is a lot of demand, right? The more desirable neighborhoods. We've got them in Morgan Hill, we've got them in Gilroy, San Jose, and Santa Clara County in general, obviously. So if you're in one of those neighborhoods, and I'd be happy to help you figure out if you are, this would be the time to accelerate your plans to sell next year or 2 years from now and pull that profit out now, or come up with other options, and I'd love to help you figure that out. There are other things you can do if you're someone who's going to find yourself in a tough situation in a year where you've lost a lot of value, but you still want to try to hold on to the home till the market recovers a little bit. There are other ways you can do that and hold on to the home. You need to be able to embrace some out-of-the-box thinking in terms of becoming a landlord or other things that you can possibly do. But I would suggest accelerating your plans if you can. For buyers, as I mentioned before, now is the time for you to start getting a search running on areas you're most interested in. I think as we see inventory grow, and the reason why I say now is because winter's coming. When winter comes, the folks who aren't in a stressful scenario to get their home sold are typically going to take their home off the market for November and December because they don't want to deal with folks trampsing through their home during Thanksgiving and Christmas. So those folks are not high stress sellers, right? They don't feel a huge amount of stress to get their home sold. The folks who leave their homes on the market during those months do. They're staying on the market because they want to get that home sold. And those are folks who are going to be more motivated. So you as a buyer could potentially get a better deal during that winter time frame. And we're going to see how the market comes back after New Year. Usually it's February and March now are the times when we start to see those listings coming back, and we'll see if that ends up being the case this time. But I think we're going to continue to see inventory growing all throughout the coming months, which is just going to put more pressure on sellers to reduce their prices. All right. That is all I have for you on this first hot take. If you've got any feedback relating to hot takes or things you'd like to see changed about the way I do the hot takes or different perspectives you'd like reflected in a hot take, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at soldbyrobert.com. And of course, if you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I'd love to help you. Find me at soldbyrobert.com. Thanks again for listening, folks. I'll talk to y'all next time.